1970s saw the physician assistant profession gaining traction. In 1971, the U.S. Congress included $4 million to help establish new PA educational programs, and the American Medical Association formally recognized the profession and began work to create national practice guidelines. But early PA students, like 1970 Duke graduate Lazaro Gonzales, felt the growing pains of a newly formed educational program and profession.
We did not have any facilities. I don't know that we actually had a staff. We did have a house trailer in the woods, and that was kind of like the place where we would all hang out and study, and sometimes we had lectures there.
The early years of the PA curriculum at Duke continued to be dominated by former military corpsmen like Gonzales, who had planned to re-enlist in the Army until reading about the new program at Duke in Look magazine.
It sounded like something that was interesting, and so I did not re-enlist.
Lazaro's 1970 class made history with the inclusion of Joyce Nichols, the first female PA student and the first African-American woman to practice as a PA. Nichols helped found the North Carolina Academy of Physician Assistants. She was inducted into the Duke PA Alumni Hall of Fame for her advocacy for poor people. She received the prestigious Nancy Susan Reynolds Award for Advocacy and also was named the AAPA Paragon Humanitarian of the Year. Nichols passed away in 2012. Gonzales launched his career in Oklahoma at the VA hospital in Muskogee, where the chief of medicine was former Duke endocrinologist Robert Gibbs, who was familiar with the PA concept. While Gibbs was a strong supporter of PAs, others remained skeptical. This was evident when patients were transferred to the Oklahoma City VA hospital.
There was a reluctance on the part of the house staff to take what I was saying and make a decision to accept the patient as a transfer or not. And it wasn't uncommon for them to say, "You have your attending call me instead."
Gonzales spent his entire career at the Muskogee VA and was witness to the steady growth of the profession's standing in the medical community.
It was very satisfying. 50 years for a profession this large, with this much responsibility to get to where we are now.
Also satisfying is the fact that his son Lazaro Jr. also is a PA, who works at the Duke Cerebrovascular and Skull-Base Surgery Center.
He's my best source of information. You could look at a textbook and read it for hours, or I could just ask him and he knows what the answer is. So.
Earl Echard was in Duke's 7th PA class that graduated in 1973. And like the majority of his classmates, he was a former military corpsman. He worked as an anesthesia technician during the Vietnam War.
When I went to Duke, a lot of us, in fact all of my classmates, had given up a job of some sort. We didn't know what we were getting into, and started doing it on blind faith.
Echard said reluctance to the PA profession was still present in all areas of the healthcare profession.
The medical profession, I think, felt a little threatened in some respect. The nurses felt a little threatened also.
So much so that at one time during a clinical rotation, a nurse supervisor refused to let Echard into the operating room over concerns he wasn't properly trained.
We were sort of like the new kid on the block and didn't know what to do with us or what to expect from us. We didn't want them to think that we were trying to be independent. We stressed dependence on the supervision of the physician.
Relationships towards PAs warmed with time, boosted in part by President Jimmy Carter signing the Rural Health Clinic Services Act in 1977 that provided Medicare reimbursements for PA services. Echard, meanwhile, forged a long and successful career in the prison system after working at Lincoln Community Health Center for several years, where he helped to establish a homeless shelter.
The impression that the inmates weren't receiving proper medical care or adequate medical care sort of piqued my interest and made me want to do more.
Among his duties at the Wake County Detention Center, Echard helps to perform entry exams on new inmates and ensure their medications are up to date.
We try to impress on them. We'll give them everything that they need. We can't guarantee that we give them everything that they want.
Echard has been active in PA affairs his entire career. He is a former national chairman of the Minority Affairs Committee of the AAPA and he is co-founder of the North Carolina Academy of Physician Assistants. He remains active with the Duke PA program, working with the Minority Recruiter.
I've never had a bad day as a PA. I've had some frustrating days, but I've never had a real bad day. It's been fun. It's been lots of fun.